Welcome to today's Explainer, everyone. Okay, imagine for a second that you're stepping into the ultimate university masterclass, and it's being taught by literally one of the greatest philosophical minds in human history. That is exactly what we're doing today. We are unpacking a profoundly deep ancient text, the Mahaprajna Paramita Upadesha. I know, it's a mouthful, but it's this monumental treatise by the philosopher Nagarjuna that captures the Buddha's most advanced teachings. As your mentor for this session, I am so thrilled to guide you through a concept I like to call the Bodhisattva paradox. It is a concept that is going to completely flip your understanding of compassion, reality, and what it actually means to help people.
So, we have to start with a massive Socratic dilemma. The Buddha's top students, we're talking absolutely brilliant minds like Shariputra and Subhuti. They were wrestling with a huge contradiction. You see, the Buddha had just taught them that reality is fundamentally empty, that all beings, all things are essentially an illusion. So naturally, these students ask the obvious question. Well, if all beings are an illusion, why on earth should we try to save them? I mean, why put in the exhausting, emotionally draining, backbreaking work of being a bodhisattva, someone dedicated to universal salvation, if the universe itself doesn't even have a solid reality?
Let's quickly run through the syllabus for today's masterclass, so you know where we're headed. We'll start with the Bodhisattva's ultimate dilemma, then explore combining wisdom and skillful means, introduce the metaphor of the illusionist, look at the unattached six perfections, and finally wrap up with the spacious, unbounded heart. Let's dive right in.
Part 1. The Bodhisattva's Ultimate Dilemma.
Listen to Shariputra's exact doubt here. He actually asks the Buddha directly, if all things, or dharmas in the text, lack an inherent nature, how can anyone practice the path of perfection? If nothing is essentially real, wouldn't trying to achieve enlightenment or trying to help others just be chasing phantoms? It's a completely logical question, right? Why take any action at all if action itself lacks a solid foundation?
To really get the Buddha's answer, we have to precisely define what he means by emptiness. And look, emptiness is not nothingness. It's not some dark, empty void in space. Actually, it's the understanding that all things, and yes, that includes you, me, and everyone we're trying to help, lack an inherent, independent, and permanent existence. Everything only exists as a web of interconnected, constantly changing conditions. There is absolutely no isolated, fixed identity to anything.
Which brings us to part 2, combining wisdom and skillful means.
The Bodhisattva path is essentially this perfect, simultaneous marriage of two forces that seem totally opposed. On one hand, you've got the wisdom of emptiness, that absolute, piercing clarity that nothing has a fixed existence. But you absolutely must pair it with skillful means. These are the practical, hands-on, compassionate methods used to alleviate the very real suffering that people experience in our relative world. The secret is, you simply cannot have one without the other.
Because if you lean too far into either of these pillars, it's basically spiritual failure. If you focus only on pure emptiness, you crash straight into nihilism. You start thinking, well, nothing matters, so why bother? And that is a huge trap. On the flip side, if you focus only on skillful means, like doing all these good works but without the wisdom of emptiness, that just leads to worldly attachment. You develop this massive ego thinking, look at me, I am the great savior. The true practice is the middle way, acting with immense, tireless compassion without clinging to the results or the identities involved.
Part 3. Awareness like an illusionist.
To explain how this actually works in practice, the Buddha uses this absolutely brilliant analogy. Imagine a master illusionist. This illusionist conjures up a massive, magnificent feast and invites literally millions of phantom guests to eat and drink until they are completely satisfied. The illusionist is putting on this grand, incredible show entirely for their benefit.
Let's break that down for a second. The illusionist represents the bodhisattva. The phantom guests, those are the sentient beings suffering in the world. And the conjured feast represents the bodhisattva's boundless good deeds. But here's the sheer genius of it. Just as the illusionist knows the guests aren't ultimately real, they don't sit around demanding gratitude from the phantoms. They don't develop a savior complex. The bodhisattva helps beings completely and totally, all while remaining perfectly aware that both the helper and the helped are entirely empty of inherent existence.
Moving right along to Part 4, the unattached six perfections.
At the core of this is a dense academic term called the three spheres of emptiness. But let's translate that into a life lesson we can actually use. When a bodhisattva gives, and that could be money, time, advice, whatever, they do it without perceiving a real, fixed giver, a real gift, or a real receiver. It is the ultimate act of doing immense good without claiming an identity, without seeking external validation, and without ever expecting a thank you. And honestly, think about why that is so incredibly difficult for us as normal people. Our egos naturally crave that thank you, don't they? We want the recognition. We want to be seen as the good guy. But the Bodhisattva acts purely, completely free from that psychological need. And this builds into what I like to call the pedagogy of compassion. It's a very logical, step-by-step curriculum. Step 1, you fulfill material needs. Let's be real, you cannot teach advanced philosophy to someone who is literally starving. Step 2, you teach worldly virtues, things like morality and patience, to stabilize their life. And only then, at step 3, do you teach ultimate liberation. The Bodhisattva meets you at basic survival and walks with you all the way to enlightenment.
Now, executing this curriculum requires highly tailored, skillful means. A true mentor meets people exactly where they are. The text is super specific about this too. If someone is poor and desperate, the Bodhisattva provides for them materially, just so they aren't forced to steal to survive. If someone is intensely angry because they lack something, the Bodhisattva gives it to them to soothe their nervous system, and only after they calm down do they teach patience. For the distracted, they teach meditation. For the greedy, the joy of giving. It is highly customized compassion, designed to remove a person's specific, immediate barriers to finding peace.
But here's the thing. There is a profound urgency to all this work. The text explicitly warns us, favorable times pass easily. Once fallen into hardship, one cannot be saved. The Bodhisattva is reminding us that having a human life, with our current capacity to actually learn and practice these virtues, is an incredibly rare, fleeting opportunity. If we fall into states of deep ignorance or pure desperate survival mode, this precious window for transformation just slips right away.
Which brings us to our final section, Part 5, the spacious, unbound Fert.
By mastering this incredible balance, tirelessly helping others while profoundly knowing it's all an illusion, the Bodhisattva achieves a totally unique psychological state. When Shariputra finally grasps this paradox, he is literally struck with awe. He praises the Bodhisattva's spacious heart, a mind that sees no ultimate purity or impurity, and doesn't rigidly distinguish between different paths of existence. Yet, and guys, this is the absolute key to the whole thing, they still make magnificent, endless vows of salvation. They are completely, beautifully engaged in helping the world while being utterly unbound by its illusions.
0. That is exactly the number of strings attached when a bodhisattva acts. Because they deeply, truly understand emptiness, they don't bind themselves to the outcome, and they definitely don't bind the people they help with guilt, expectation, or debt. It is total freedom, achieved through absolute non-attachment.
Which leaves us with a real challenge for today. We've explored the masterclass of the Bodhisattva paradox. But philosophy is really only as good as its practice. So I want to leave you with this final, provocative thought. Can you do one good deed today without claiming the identity of a savior? Can you just give without expecting even a drop of gratitude, fully embodying that spacious heart? I really want you to think about that and let it transform how you interact with the world today. Keep learning, keep questioning, and I will see you in the next explainer.